Hello guys, good morning, good afternoon, or even good evening. Welcome into Hopper's Motorsport Vlogs. How we're doing? Yes, today is Wednesday, the 18th of June 2025. Hope everyone's doing well. Just thought I'd come on to do a vlog today about studying motor vehicle level 1 and of course a first diploma in motorsport. After I decided to leave school, or when I left school, at the age of, I think I was either 16 or 17 at the time. But obviously, when you leave school, you decide what you're going to do, whether you go into an apprenticeship or you go to college and study various subjects. But yeah, I'm going to talk about doing my level 1 motor vehicle at one college, and then a couple of years later doing a first diploma in motorsport. Before we get into this live, I called it a live video then. Before we get into this vlog, I'll just introduce myself because you may not know who I am, or you may know who I am. I am Hoppers. I am the voice and the face, of course, this pretty face of Hoppers Motorsport Vlogs. I'm based in the northwest of England, or should I say the Lake District. I am 35 and a bit years old, and I am a British touring car fan for 26 years. And yes, we do car vlogs, we do motorsport vlogs, we do an array of things. But yeah, if you like what you see here, guys, just give it a smashing thumbs up. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave us a comment in our vlogs. But yes, I'll give you a bit of a informative vlog about studying motor vehicle and of course motorsport at college. So yeah, where do I start then? So 2006, when I left senior school, when I left senior school at 16, I was thinking, what do I want to do as a career? Obviously, many people, as I said before, head off to go and do either a college course in their chosen career path, or they go and do an apprenticeship. Yeah, or many people struggle out there to try and find what to do. And this is no disrespect to anyone that struggles to go and find, a career path in motorsport or motor vehicle. So obviously, when I left school at the age of 16, I already had a sort of an experience of studying motor vehicle, which was the MVQ motor vehicle light fitting and maintenance, I think it was. I can't remember exactly the title of the course I did, but it was an MVQ level 1 motor vehicle. But however, I had already a couple of days experience of seeing what the course would be like, whether it would be for me, because I did a program at school where I used to go on a Friday to go and study motor vehicle at the local college. So it gave me an eye-opener to see what it was going to be like, to see if it was really going to be ideal for when I left school. So I did that. Obviously, at the when you leave school and you apply for colleges, you have two options to pick. We had two options to pick what we wanted to do when we left school on our college application form, which I put down motor vehicle and, for some bizarre reason, painting and decorating. Don't know why I chose painting and decorating as my second option, but obviously people might say, did you paint the wall behind us? No, I didn't. I had to get professional to do it, no. But anyway, I went for an interview to say that I want to do level 1 motor vehicle, which, when you do your level 1 motor vehicle, there's obviously level 1, level 2, level 3. Later on in my life, I did level 2. I'll go on about that towards the end of this vlog and reasons why I did it. So level 1 I did when I left school, and you got involved in basically how to do So level one, you were doing like stuff like making. I can't remember what we made. We made some sort of tool. So you're learning how to do engineering. You did brakes and tires. So obviously, the likes of excuse me. So if your brakes needed changing, so you're looking at brake calipers, brake discs, of course, brake pads. So there's a lot of hands-on things. There was quite a few exams and stuff like that, obviously, because you've got coursework to do, etc. Obviously, you're doing exhaust systems, engine systems, wheels and tires. So you know how to balance a wheel, because obviously on a road car you've got all four wheels and you must have them balanced with the correct weight on. If you don't, your car can potentially break or the wheel could break. Same with your tyre. We're looking at spark plugs, doing mock MOT things. So you're given a task to find, like, if the car fails its MOT, what would you look for, and such forth. And to be fair, at first, being there doing my level one, it was good. It was a great thing to do. However, during my course, things were a bit. I'm not going to be shy. I do have a mild form of autism and cerebral palsy, but because of my learning style wasn't the best. It wasn't straightforward. People were better at me at understanding, better knowledge of components and stuff like that, should we say. But, we still got through the course. We had a trip to the NEC for the Motorsport International show, which is a fantastic show, even though since COVID, people have said it's gone downhill. But this was back in 2007. So, yeah. So, obviously, it helped, obviously, having that pre-school or having that thing on a Friday when I was at school to go and do motor vehicle at college on the Friday, because it prepared me ready for full-time being at college doing level one motor vehicle, and the exams were good. Yes, if I'll be honest, people were getting were better than me, and I left there with a pass. And I'll be honest, I wanted to progress to try and do level 2 motor vehicle. After I finished my level 1, people say, well, like I mentioned previously about why did I leave it late on in my life to do level 2? Well, I'll tell you a bit about this now, and I'll mention why I did level 2 later on in my life. So at the end of the year, I thought, okay, I've got my level. This was it back in 2007. I got my level 1 motor vehicle. I thought, I really, really want to become a mechanic as my career. And people probably say to me, Hoppers, if you want to be a mechanic, why are you sat at home? Well, I'll tell you a bit about this later on. But so I wanted to do my level 2 motor vehicle. And I realised at the time, like I say, my work ethic, I worked extremely hard to get my level 1, but the style of my work and my rate of work isn't technically, people might say, oh, it will be good enough to do level 2, but at the time it wasn't. And it was like, well, I'm afraid level 2, you would have to be in a garage environment, so you'd have to be in the likes of Quick Fit, Halfords Auto Centre, excuse me, or even a local garage. And it would be more hands-on. You'd be not working on vehicles that the college had supplied. You'd be working on real cars that are customers' cars, etc. So if it went wrong, there's consequences and such forth. So they said, we don't think level 2 is good enough for you. We had a bit of a review at the end of the year to see what I could do to get onto level 2. But then it was like, fortunately, we don't think level 2 would suit you because it's more hands-on and you'd be more in the garage. Same with level 3, but then level 3 you'd be taken on as an apprentice, but you'd only be attending college probably 1 or 2 days a week, whereas most of the time you'd be in the garage during your level 3. If you did your level 3 and level 2, you'd be studying more in the garage environment than you would be at college. So you'd be going back to college to go and say what you've learned in the real world of the garage. So that ultimately, sadly, put an end to my dream of wanting to become a mechanic at the time, and it was, I don't know how to put it, but it seemed very emotional to think, you had this set. Obviously you're a petrol head, you're a motor enthusiast, you're a motorsport fan. What's out there, and you really wanted to make it as a career. So, with that being said, and all this, it was like, what's going to happen? What's next for chasing the dream, should we say? And at first, when I left college, I left college, or should I say left after finishing motor vehicle, I was thinking, well, okay, then can't do me level 2. Why don't I try and apply for my local Halfords store? If people ask what's Halfords, well, Halfords is a automotive store slash. Well, it's normally an automotive store, but it does a range of things. But normally it sells like the likes of like gas clean, wiper blades, oil, batteries, etc. for your cars. So I tried to apply. For a job at Halfords, and I thought, I've just turned 17. I'm still 17 at the time, because I was 17 when I finished motor vehicle. I thought, right, I'll somehow try and push on to say, there's one way to think about it. I'd go and apply for the local Halford store. I did a application form, didn't hear back, and then I got told that, there's a potential course that could get you into the world of work, which I was thinking, and this, don't take the piss, but I was thinking, this course, it's preparing me for life going into work. And I remember one day, Halfords didn't reject me application form, for those who asked. I just obviously maybe had no experience of working in a store. So during my time of doing the preparing for work course, they got us on a work experience at the Halfords store anyway. And so, I managed to get in there and learn how to stock shelves and whatnot, and learn all the different oils and, of course, wiper blades. Yes, people might say, why do you need to relearn the oils when you're studying motor vehicle? Well, there's different types, isn't there? But obviously for different vehicles, there's a high grade, there's a lower grade, etc. But obviously knowing which was right, and obviously especially when you've got a customer saying, I've got, for example, a 91 Ford Escort, it needs this much, or it needs this oil, you've got to make sure you find the correct one, otherwise you can completely fuck their engine up. But yeah, so I got a work experience at the Halfords store, obviously where I was living at the time, and also during that there was a careers convention to for if you ever wanted to leave, if you ever wanted to go down the line of seeing what else is out there, seeing what else was out there for your future. And by then I was actually 18, So when I was doing this course, I turned 18, and it was like, well, I went to this careers convention. I saw Myerscough College. Those who don't know what Myerscough College is, it's a college outside of Preston. A very good college, I must admit. They looked after me very well when I did that. When I did my motorsport, I'll go on about that very soon. But I looked in their prospectus, and I saw they did a first diploma in motorsport. And people are probably going to say this when I talk about this. Why are you doing a first diploma in motorsport when you've just done a year of level 1 motor vehicle, or it's been 2 years, or maybe a year since you've done your first diploma, first MVQ level 1 motor vehicle survey, sorry, and then obviously you're doing a preparing for work course, but it's been 2 years since you've done your your level 1 motor vehicle. Why are you doing a first diploma in motorsport? Or why were you going to do a first diploma in motorsport? Well, I'm going to explain this. So I looked at it and I saw they do a first diploma in motorsport. I thought, that's what I want to do. And other behold, I went home. Obviously, I was living at my parents' house at the time, and I said to them, my dad and my stepmom, I said to them, right, I really want to go and study a first diploma in motorsport, because it seems to be a bit more hands-on, learning how to race car preparation and all this. And we're like, we don't know how you're going to manage to do it. So we looked at every avenue, every sort of way to somehow get me onto the course, and it's very difficult to explain this bit, but we had to have basically, was it 2, maybe 3 interviews to get me to be accepted at Myerscough College. So we had to have, I think it was about 2 or 3 interviews to see if I could go to Myerscough, which I think the first interview was to see about what learning support needs I would need, because obviously, like I say, with my autism, and obviously previously having additional needs with help with understanding and reading and writing, because my reading and writing sometimes isn't the best, I'm not going to lie. So they were like, right, we'll see what we can do. We'll go away and try and think about what's next for you. And then I think we had an interview then with what was my course tutor, Peter Kenyon. Pete, if you're watching, still haven't changed. Still a nutcase. What do you mean? Still a nutcase? But still the same old me, not changed. Might have changed hairstyle and a bit more weight in my face now than I was back then. But this was 2008, so this was the end of sort of April. So when I finished the preparing for work course, sort of April, May time, we were looking at Myerscough College, and then so we had an interview with what was eventually my course tutor, Peter Kenyon. Obviously, we told him that I did my level 1 and stuff like that, and we said we're into touring cars. We've been a massive fan of BTCC. He said, "Oh well, you might not like what I'm about to say, but we know some touring car people," and obviously I knew them because of watching it on telly and being spectating. But they said, "Well, we don't have a touring car in the workshop. We actually have rally cars and stuff like that, and a Formula Ford, etc." So I think prior to that, or I think was it prior to it or after it? So they said, right, Um, I've had my interview, and then so after that, it was like, right, okay, what's next? And then I think prior to that, there was a taster day at Myerscough College where I signed on to do the motorsport first diploma, motorsport taster day at excuse me, at Myerscough College, and I think I remember it quite well that we were learning how to change tyres, etc. And it was, it was a great day out, and I think that's what made me realise, motorsport, doing the first diploma in motorsport was going to be ideal. And then, so after obviously my interview, we then got told, or I got a letter through saying there's an unconditional place of, do you accept an unconditional place to get you on the first diploma in motorsport? And I was like, right, okay, I'm gonna have to think about this now. I thought, yeah, we agree to it, which then ultimately, don't know how to put it, but ultimately put us in like, well, what do we do now? Because we've had the learning support interview to say about what would I need help with. We've had the interview with my course tutor, and then it was a couple of months down the line later. We went back for the halls of residence because we were going to live on campus, which many people would say, well, why couldn't you travel each day from where you live to Myerscough? Well, it would have been really early, and it wouldn't have been easy to get there at early hours of the morning. So we thought, right, we'll live on campus. So we lived in the halls of residence. Obviously, because I was over the age of 18, I could have a over 18 block of student accommodation. So come September of that year, we enrolled onto the first diploma of motorsport. I remember somehow, I don't know how it managed to work, but we had learning support from a lady called Penny Walker. Pen, if you're watching this, as I said before about Pete, I've not changed. Still a nutcase, still into my cars, and things have changed, but it's a huge relief of things, But Penny helped me through motorsport during my exams, and of course getting my coursework, really good as well. So we got enrolled onto the first diploma of motorsport September 2008. Obviously, some people on my course had just left school, and it's quite funny because, being one of the older students, should we say, it wasn't long enough until after I started the course, I was actually turning 19. So people were looking at me saying, "Oh God, Hoppers is one of the oldest, and we've just left school." And we learn all sorts about how to prepare a race car, or engines and all that. We did sort of an equivalent ABC level 1, which is kind of like level 1 motor vehicle, but motorsport standards. My grade at first was predicted at the start of the year or halfway through the term, or the halfway through the year was a pass, which at first I was thinking, oh, okay, it's going to be a pass. I'm going to end up leaving Myerscough with a first diploma in motorsport, but with a pass. I was like, oh, okay. So then, as time went on, I knuckled down. I went through some personal stuff, which I'm not going to mention. I went through some personal stuff. Sometimes went through quite a lot of it. And then, obviously, because I knuckled down, I started getting merits, a couple of merits, and then, excuse me, a couple of merits, a couple of passes there, and then I think there was one or two distinctions, um, or is it just the one distinction? I can't remember. There's a couple of merits there, um, and then they asked me at the end of towards the end of the year, so obviously the end of the college year, when I completed the first diploma in motorsport, what grade do you think you're going to be getting? I said, well, at the moment I think I'm getting a pass, and it was like, because of your recent excuse me, because a couple of your recent exams, you got a merit in one and then you got a distinction in another, you're going to be leaving with a merit. And I was like, what? I'm leaving with a merit? And people may look at this now and say, you left your level one with a pass, your level one motor vehicle with a pass. You were predicted a pass for your first diploma in motorsport, but now you're getting a merit overall after some very good results in your exams, like a couple of merits there, and then you get a distinction in one of them. So then it pushes you up to a merit overall as your grade to leave Motorsport College with a first diploma in motorsport. And I was like, when they told me that, I was like, get in, because I was like, I was like, how have I worked that hard? How have I worked that hard? And having the ins and outs of thinking, to get, to get a merit was like, probably like, no, you've got it all wrong. But no, they said, no, you're leaving with a merit. So I was quite proud of that. And then after I left Motorsport College, there was a chance to get the award. Obviously, the certificate was coming in the post, but there was a reward ceremony. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, who do I take? Who do I take as part of my guests? And I remember my dad and my stepmom had said to me, or Tina and my dad had said to me, Tina's my stepmom, saying, well, we're going to be away. We're going to be away on holiday. And I remember saying to myself, okay. And I was going down to my grandparents for 2 weeks or a week. So I was going to visit my grandparents, my late grandparents, who sadly passed away in 2016. And I remember thinking, I'll take them. And I do apologise if this gets a bit teary-eyed and a bit emotional for me. I remember saying to my nan and granddad, would you like to come to my graduation? And they were delighted because they knew how much cars was a part of my life. You may have seen that vlog. But I remember, they knew that cars was a massive influx, and when I told them I got a merit overall, they were mega thrilled for me. So I said, right, I'll take them to my graduation. The graduation came around. We travelled up from my nan and granddad's house in Staffordshire up to Motorsport College for the day, which my granddad at the time, I can't remember how old he was probably in his 60s, maybe early 70s, I can't even remember. But he drove us up there, and I don't know how to put it. I say, they were saying to me, it's a privilege that you've asked us, and and I remember getting to the college, the staff were very helpful, and then when we got to the when we got to the place of where the ceremony was in the sports hall, I had to obviously go with my fellow students, but the staff helped me, nan and granddad, find a seat, and there's the guys from the Stumble Inn student bar, which I spent most of my Tuesday nights socialising, should we say. There's the guys that used to be the security / bouncer, you can call them whatever. Danny and Mark, if you guys are watching this, I've not seen you guys for ages. I've not changed. But Danny and Mark helped me, nan and granddad, find a seat. And then afterwards, they're watching me go up and get my diploma. A piece of paper saying your certificate will be in the post. But they scrolled it up like a diploma. And I remember later on, there was the celebration in the Stumble Inn, which is the student bar at Myerscough. And I remember, my nan and granddad just talking to me, saying how proud they are, and then Penny and Pete were there. And Penny comes over to talk to me nan and granddad, and my nan and granddad said that cars has always been in his blood since a young age. And they said, we could tell how well he worked, with things that had gone on during his time. And sorry guys. Teary-eyed. But yeah, they said to Penny and they said to Pete, well, Kaz has been a huge part of his life since he was little. And they said, yeah, we can tell. It's shown, we're very proud of him, as you should be as well. And, it really hit home that, I took my nan and granddad for my graduation, and then, I was greatly appreciated with it, and, we celebrated, and it was great, But yeah, so after leaving Myerscough, I decided that was it. I'd never go and study again. I wanted to go into the world of work. However, a couple of years later, in 2014, I decided to go back to the college where I'm living now, and say, right, I want to do level 2 motor vehicle. I want to prove, because I've done level 1 motor vehicle, I've done a first diploma in motorsport, I want to now prove that I can do a level 2 in motor vehicle, which ultimately I did. I found it, not gonna lie, I found it very difficult. Especially when I was, I don't know how to put it. I was studying level 2 motor vehicle, but I was also having to, what's the word? Having to also work at the same time. So I did, people probably going to say, you did level 2 motor vehicle, but then you had to work at the same time. So because I was living on my own at the time, I had to obviously go and have my job. Obviously, it's not the job I'm in now, but I was working at Asda, at the local Asda store where I am, as an Asda race. And on the days of going to college, I had to go into work for 5:30 in the morning, which, makes you think, well, I had to compete with going to work and then going to college. So I had to go to work at 5:30 in the morning to go and do my shift, to finish for 8:30, to go to college for 9 o'clock, which luckily it wasn't that far away. And I remember the day I was getting inducted and enrolling on college to do my level 2. Because I was already awake and had gone to gone to work, the fellow students in the level 2 were like, "He just putting an Asda uniform on for a joke, Have you?" And I said, "No, I've actually just come from work." So I got student a month for September because I was going to work and then going to college and showing commitment for both, which was was a which was a very, I'm not gonna lie, it was a very difficult process to do, to go to work and then go to college. So I eventually then left Asda as a cleaner, and I decided to go and clean at the local college, obviously where I was studying. So then I was already there, and then during my term time of college, I didn't realise this at the time. My granddad had obviously not catched, but he got diagnosed with dementia. And I remember somehow, thinking, this is, this level 2 technically wasn't just to show to people that I can do level 2. I said to myself, eventually this would be for my granddad. So I then obviously went to work at the local college. They put me on the early morning cleaning, so I was already there, so I didn't have to worry about going home getting changed. And then, of a behold, they drafted me onto night cleaning during the night at college, and I couldn't cope because I was failing my exams, because of how tired I was. There was not enough time for me to revise and study for exams, and I end up failing some exams more times than ever. And this is why I say I'm not afraid to admit it. It was very difficult. And then I then passed my last exam, my engine external exam resit, with a merit in 2015. So I told my nan and granddad about it, and I went to go and visit my nan and granddad. 2015. I'll be back in a minute. I do apologise. But yeah, so I went to go see my nan and granddad. Basically, I went to, I told my nan and granddad that I passed, and I decided I'd go and see them. And then I went to go and plan and see them. Of a behold, when I went to go see them, my granddad's dementia was very worse than I thought, because I'd not seen my nan and granddad for a few years. And I remember my nan writing me a letter, which I've got in front of me at the moment. I found it a few years ago after they passed, or a year after they passed away. They sadly both passed away in 2016. So at the end, I'll be putting a picture of them on this vlog. So I'll read you the letter, but just remember, if you get teary-eyed or I start getting teary-eyed, just bear with. So basically, it says, in my nan's writing, "Dear Jennifer and Andrew," obviously people know me as Hoppers, but my real name's Andrew, or Andy. You can call me either, I don't mind. Obviously, Jen's real name's Jennifer, but it is what it is. But she says, "Dear Jennifer and Andrew, thank you for a lovely photo of you both. Bill, who's my granddad, said it looks like our Andrew when I showed him his dementia is getting worse," which obviously I'll mention some after, which makes me cry, but I'll try not to let it bother me in this vlog. He keeps going back to the past and how he used to go to the pub with Andrew down the road when we took Andrew to collect his certificate. Nice memories. When you come to see us, there's no need to book into the travel lodge. We were going to do that originally, but my nan said we're going to stop at theirs, and obviously they have the spare room and all that. But all we had to do is let them know when I'm coming. So then my granddad couldn't drive, so my dad had to take the car because of his dementia. And so we'd have to get a taxi to theirs. But then my nan said that she'd pay for it and sort that when we know more. And then she was apologising for her handwriting because it was her hands were no good. And then she said it's old age, and we kept telling her you're not that old. And then obviously my nan and granddad wrote the letter. Well, my nan wrote the letter. So yeah, but yeah, as I said, it was a bit of a thing that made me cry. But obviously, when I went to go visit my nan and granddad, 2015, my granddad remembered who Jem was, but sadly didn't remember who I was. And you know, I want people to understand. You know, my nan and granddad were a huge part of my life, and really doing level 2 motor vehicle was for them. So I hope you've really enjoyed this vlog, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I do apologise if there's some teary-eyed moments, but you know, I just thought I'd give you guys a bit of a vlog about studying motor vehicle and motorsport and other bits and pieces about it. But I hope you've enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget, I'll catch you on the next vlog. Take it easy. Take care. Ta-ra.